I think we are ready to kick this off. Welcome, everyone. Yay. And thanks for joining us today. It's Beth and Kevin from AutoCrit. Say hi, Kevin.
Hello.
Today, we're going to show you a quick demonstration of a remarkable tool called AutoCrit. If you have any questions as we go along, just pop them over in the chat and we will get them answered for you. If we don't get your questions answered on air, feel free to visit our website, autocrit.com, or go into the application and click that little blue bubble over in the right-hand side and just ask us any questions that you've got. We're always happy to help.
There.
With that being said, why on earth are we here today? So what is AutoCrit? Anyway, come on, it's a fun name. We love to say it, but what is it really? So AutoCrit is an online editing tool, the only one made from real best-selling books that helps you revise and polish your writing while still leaving you in complete creative control. So whether you're writing fiction or nonfiction, a short story or a novel, AutoCrit helps by giving you step-by-step recommendations for improving your manuscript based on what real readers want to see. And when we say real readers, AutoCrit isn't just an automated style guide like some other software you might find out there. It's not just the Chicago Manual of Style crammed into a computer screen. We use real books, real authors, and real data to add an extra layer on top of that. So you can get right down to the nitty-gritty of what writers are actually doing and what readers are actually reading. So you probably already know this, right, Kevin? But this is not a replacement for an experienced human editor or beta readers, right? But it's a great complement to them. It's a way for you to more efficiently using your money and time with those beta readers and human editors by catching things like repetition, style errors, pacing problems before other humans get their hands on your book, right?
That's
so
exactly right.
Use this first, find those early, save time and money.
Yep.
That way you're not throwing away tons of money on and other people's time fixing problems you could have really caught a lot earlier. You can put that money into a really great developmental editor who can really take your story up a few notches by offering creative and structural advice, the things you wouldn't want to come from a computer anyway. So that's your dream team. So today we're going to edit a general fiction book. And as a free forever user of AutoCrit, you can choose general fiction or nonfiction as either prescriptive or narrative to compare your work. As a paid member, of course, you can select a more specific genre, romance, self-help, or even a specific author, say Anne Rice, whom we just added to our application last month. By the way, we're adding new authors to compare every single month. So always something fresh and new to explore within AutoCrit. So you can go ahead and create your own free forever account right now at our homepage, www.autocrit.com. Go ahead and get that signed up. And what Kevin is going to show you is a demonstration already logged into the application as a free forever account. So what you're seeing is in Kevin's screen right now is exactly what you'll see when you sign up. Kevin.
Sure. Thanks, Beth. So like she mentioned, I'm basically signed up as a free user right now. As many of you would probably start out just to give the system a try, this is probably what you're going to see when you go ahead and sign up for an AutoCrit account. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to upload a new file. And so I'm going to click on this nice little button that says Upload New Text. And it's going to give me a friendly reminder that I should save anything or I'm going to lose it. But in this case, I have nothing open, so I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. And then we have a couple options to bring text in here. One being copy and paste, which is always a tried and true favorite. And the other one we're going to use in this case is upload a new file. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and upload the entire file and not copy and paste a section from it. Click here. And I'm going to select a file. Now, we are somewhat particular with the kind of files we allow. We allow Word documents with a docx, it's a newer one, rich text, which is an RTF file, or plain text. Now, we're kind of choosy because of the formatting that comes in. We want to try to accept files from everywhere. And we've studied this, and just about every word processor or anybody that deals with text out there has the ability to convert to one of these options. So just a quick reminder that you want to have it as a docx file, a rich text file, or a plain text file. We'll see any of those. If you have some other kind of file, you might want to just try copying and pasting if you want, but we really recommend trying to get it in one of those formats first. So just a little bit of a help there. Oops. Let me hit that one again. And we're going to go ahead and click Submit. So the file drops in, and in this case, I selected an excerpt from Kafka's The Metamorphoses. So it's a little bit of an older historical novel, but certainly one that's fairly well known and I guess a bestseller in its own right. And no, we're not going to comment on the literary quality of Metamorphosis.
Always interesting. Always interesting.
Always, it's an interesting story. Let's go with that. Anyway, but it's a great example to show how our system works. In this case, we're going to run a couple of different reports, and there are different reports that are available to you are shown up here in the navigation bar with these different tabs. We have isolated it into these different categories. And you'll notice with a free report, you'll have access to many of them, but not all of them. There is some we reserve to the paid accounts. In this case, you'll see, like in this case, adverbs is available to you. And the ones with the little red pen there, those are the ones that are reserved to the paid accounts. But that's okay. You can go ahead and jump in and run several reports and get a feel for how it's going to work before you have to commit to purchase anything. So, and one of the reports we have available to us here, we're going to run today, is adverbs. So let me go ahead and click on adverbs, and it will run the report. And there you go. Beth, you want to give us some rundown on adverbs?
Yeah, I mean, I would never tell this to Kafka directly, but if there is one telltale sign of an amateur writer, it's a manuscript that is just crammed with adverbs. Now, this was written quite a long time ago, so perhaps styles have changed and what is really pleasing to a reader has changed. But in general, today's modern world of writing, an adverb is really kind of a weakness. It really relies on weak verbs and adjectives and props them up, right? So it's really just a helper verb, a helper word. If you've got a verb or an adjective that's just not powerful enough to convey your feeling or your emotion in a clear and compelling manner. So, you know, those ly words, quickly, angrily, etc., they're all over our early drafts because generally speaking, when we're drafting, we just got to get that story out of our head and get it on paper. But now that you're in the editing process, most of them need to go. And I have heard that that number is upwards of 90% of those can actually go and be replaced with a more powerful verb itself. So instead, for example, instead of saying he walked quickly, you could say he ran, he galloped, he jogged, bolted, raced, power walked. So many other more descriptive and what we consider more powerful words you could use instead of just saying quickly, right? So what AutoCrit is doing in this situation is not just counting your words, but showing you some very specific recommendations that Kevin's going to walk you through. Just a quick reminder, just because AutoCrit says you want to take a look at them and it may say you need to remove upwards of 27 of them in our example. Yeah. Just remember, you're always in control. So walk them through kind of what happens next now that the report's run and you've got some results on the screen, Kevin.
Sure. So what AutoCrit did is it saved you a little bit of time, or a lot of time actually, because it found every last adverb in the text and threw it a nice little red highlight for you. So you can't avoid it. You can't miss it. You know, you can't pretend like it's not there anymore once it's shown like this to you. So it kind of gives you that third-party independent review where, like, oh my goodness, there they are. They're going to jump off the page, which is great. And what AutoCrit is going to do, it's going to not only find all the adverbs, it's going to tell you which ones, not only are they there, but they're actually overused when you compare them to some sort of a standard. In this case, we're comparing to our profile of a general fiction book, which is a kind of an all-encompassing fingerprint of what we found of when we analyze millions of fiction books. This is kind of what on average you're going to find in that situation. And as Beth mentioned earlier, you can change this to something more specific or a different genre like sci-fi fantasy or something like that. Those are all pro features, but you get the idea that you can update this and then you can compare and see how many times you would expect to see these individual words found in that selected genre or author, if you so chose. So in this case, we found 33 instances of the adverb really in the text, and it's telling me that we got to remove 27 of them. So basically, on this amount of text, we would anticipate to find 6, but you have 33. So it's saying, if you want to be average or be something more typical, you should remove 27 of them. So, and I'm not going to go too into depth on adverbs themselves, but like Beth mentioned, you can pretty much just remove them for the most part. For 80% of the time-ish, they can be just gone. So in this case, we can get rid of a word really here. And in this case, we have really strong appetite. Maybe wanting not only get rid of really, we would want to get a stronger verb, such as fierce or voracious or something like that. So you can go ahead and edit your work directly in AutoCrit, remove words, add words, make your edits. And then if you want to get updated results, you just run the report again. And we had 33 reallys before. Hopefully we have 31 now because I got rid of 2 of them. So that is kind of the basic here for using, in this case, the adverb report and what it finds and what you look for. And we really recommend, as Beth mentioned, you don't have to remove every single adverb or you don't have to adhere to every recommendation that a system like AutoCrit would make, because it is a machine. It's just simply going to find everything. But we do recommend that you at least take a look at it. This will bring to your attention every instance of these words. So it's a helpful tool to assist you to quickly go through and find these potential, areas for improvement, and then go from there with it and either remove it, ignore it, replace it, revise it. We have, whatever that needs to happen.
We like the alliteration. The 4 R's. It's no longer the 3 R's of reading, writing, and arithmetic. It is the 4 R's of replace, remove, reword, or reject. You can reject the suggestions that AutoCrit makes for you as well, because ultimately this is your creative masterpiece. This is your story, and you control the voice and you control the emotions that you are evoking by some of the literary techniques. Perhaps it's a technique that you use the word really a lot. Absolutely. So take the recommendations as a view that you may not have had if you are doing a chapter level edit, and then you come back and look at the whole book and you see, oh my goodness, I've really overused this, or oh, that doesn't really flow the way I want it to. I had a quick question, Kevin. Sure. When you replaced the really around appetite, you were able to right off the bat say, oh, he's got a fierce appetite. What if I couldn't think up another word? Sure. Really strong, or he was really hungry. What else could I do within AutoCrit to find a replacement for that?
Sure. Well, let me grab a word just next with appetite. Maybe fierce was fine. Maybe we want to change appetite. So we do have a built-in thesaurus here. Let's find it here. There's a thesaurus, little book. You click this, and it will take whatever word you've highlighted, and maybe you have a fierce hunger instead of a fierce appetite. And so you can pick it, and it will change it here for you. In that case, it missed it. Let me try that one more time.
No, oops. It wouldn't be a live demo if something didn't.
So, I don't know.
Didn't misbehave.
There we go. I didn't click the exact right spot, perhaps. I missed the button that time. Anyway, so you can, we do have a built-in thesaurus. We're happy to use that and try to find that alternate word. And, obviously, we could go into a whole session on proper uses of a thesaurus and some of the pitfalls associated with picking fancy words out of one, but we'll save that for another day. But in this case, we do definitely have the ability to assist you in finding ways to improve and polish that word that you just want to change using a thesaurus, as well as obviously highlighting the ones that maybe you should just remove altogether. Sometimes the best word in your toolbox is no word, we've found.
And that gets into that clarity and efficiency of word that we talk about in terms of editing ruthlessly, right?
Yes, definitely. Fewer words on the page. If you can get your point across with fewer words, you're almost always going to be in a better position and make your reader happier than having too much on the page.
Well, that is fantastic. And this is just one example of the level of detail and guidance that the AutoCrit analysis provides, there are over 20 other reports in the paid version of the application. And one excellent thing about the free forever, Kevin, let's show them that summary report.
Sure.
So the summary report is just that. It's a summary of all the sections and reports within AutoCrit. Kind of gives you that bird's eye view of where you may want to focus your editing energy. So Kevin, yeah, let's jump in there.
Sure. We'll just scroll through real quick. This is just a high-level overview of each of the different reports we have. And you can kind of get a feel for, the numbers and the kind of where you stand in some of these different focus areas that AutoCrit looks at. So you can scroll through here quick and say, my point of view, I didn't realize I was mostly in the third person, or something like, we give you the high-level overview, then way you could then jump in and run that specific report and kind of dive into the detail and either make changes or updates and polish as you feel fit. So the summary report's just a nice little overview of a lot of the statistics and the words you use and the frequencies. And it's a great place to start when you're just getting kicked off to see kind of where you stand and where you measure up. And it also has our wonderful score here too that you can keep track of, like a benchmark as you edit. And hopefully as you remove your highlighted words, or you edit and you polish and you follow some of the recommendations, this score slowly climbs as you go. And so at the end of editing, hopefully it's higher. That's the goal anyway, to track your progress here. It's kind of a number for that purpose. So
fantastic. Yeah, and while we all strive for 100, especially type A, it's like me, like I want a 100, I want a perfect score. The perfect score in AutoCrit may not be 100 for you. It's whenever you're happy with the story that you're telling and that you've done the edits that you prefer, right?
That's exactly right.
So speaking of your finished work and you're ready to share that work with your human editor and your beta readers, you'll want to save and export, right? So that is very easy to do as well. Kevin, you want to walk them through that?
Sure. So we allow you to save your files inside of AutoCrit if you choose. In this case, since it's a new file, we're going to go ahead and hit Save As. And the first question it's going to ask you is what book you want to save it under. And that's basically just a folder. So in this case, I'll do Book 1. And then we're going to give it a file name. Say it's Revision 1. And you can
really, these are all your custom naming conventions. Whatever book you're working on, whatever naming system you have, AutoCrit allows you to just remain true to that.
Yes. So you have it in the book, and then you as a folder, and then you give it a name. So next time you come in and you log into the system, I'll go ahead and do that for you. You can find your file here under Book 1. And it was saved 15 seconds ago. There it is. Click on it, and you find your file back again just like that, and it pops right up right where you left off when you last saved. So it's kind of a handy way to just keep the files in the system. You obviously also have the opportunity when you're done in AutoCrit and you no longer need the editing features anymore. You're ready to move on to the next phase of the writing process and publishing process. You're ready to send it to an editor or a beta reader or who knows. You can obviously pull it out of our system using a couple of different options. You can print and email a PDF, which can be handy. You can print it with the highlights and with some of the recommendations if you want to keep that for your own records. And also, probably the best thing you can do is export the file back as an electronic file again, so you can put it back into your word processor or send it to an editor or send it to a beta reader as an electronic file. And here we can bring back many, if not all, of your line spacing formatting options, your paragraph and your line spacing options, and your fonts, your indents, and double space, single space, all these. You can select these. You can also, another neat feature, if you're going to work offline, you could run your very large work and say you have, maybe you have 3 days worth of work just on adverbs and you want to work at the beach. Well, you can export the text with those friendly AutoCrit red highlights here. You'd select that to yes, and then you export it. You can work offline. You don't have to be online anymore. And you can then, when you're done editing, bring it back in the system. So anyway, important part here down here is you can export. You can choose your file type again, or Word doc, rich text, or plain text. And once again, any word processor or word processing system or anything like that will always be able to upload or handle docx files or rich text files. Are very, very common, and not to be worried with that from a formatting standpoint. So you just click on export, and it will download an electronic file for you. In this case, right here on my little downloads bar, and then you're off and running with it. Take it wherever you want.
Oh, that was easy. And I have to say, there's really no place I would rather work on my adverb removal than at the beach, just to be clear. Or Hawaii with our viewer who's with us from Hawaii today.
Just keep the sand out of your keyboard and you're safe, right? You need
I'm
like
okay
plastic
with that.
covers on it.
I will just pack up a red pen if I need to and do it the good old-fashioned way. That's
Sure.
fantastic. So that brings us to the end of kind of the planned demonstration we had for today. We do have a few viewer questions. So let's go ahead and take those. Again, if we don't get to your question on air, feel free to visit our website or click that blue bubble within the application there on the right-hand side of Kevin's screen. You can see where that is, and ask questions of our support team. We are happy to help, and we're always there to kind of respond to you. And let's see who we've got. So Chess has a quick question. The summary score, right? What does it really mean? I know it measures against some benchmarks.
Mm-hmm.
It's not really the number of mistakes, but it's really how you're measuring against a benchmark. So could we dig a little more into that?
Sure. So this is That's okay. It's a representation of the number of highlighted words found throughout all the reports. So every last one, the dialogue, the strong writing, the adverbs, it's all our reports. Every time there's a highlighted word or a highlighted sentence, that gets counted as a highlight. And that's compared to a ratio with the overall number of words. So in this case, I think I have maybe 10,000 words. So if I have 500 highlights and over 10,000 words, we convert that into this number here. So it's really those three primary things: the number of highlights compared to the number of words in your file. And obviously the number of highlights will change as you update your genre. So if I were to select something other than general fiction here and run it again, the number of highlights would change. So your score is going to change based on what you're comparing to, as it's directly related to the number of highlights that are found in there. And once again, like Beth mentioned, it's not like you're shooting for 100. I don't even know if that's possible. Or if you really get 100, you might be gaming the system somehow. I'm not sure. It's really meant, to be able to track your work. So if in this case I started at 69, maybe after a week I check it again, I'm at a 74 or 75 or something like that. So really it's kind of more of a benchmark to track your progress. So hey, I'm kind of a feel-good thing to know that you're going in the right direction to kind of prop yourself up on that. So
yeah, and to that end, I think a couple of other interesting features within the application. Speaking of how you're improving, you can export and print this summary report. You can mail it to folks as a PDF. And you can also compare files. So we've our first draft in there, and 2 weeks later we have our second draft in there, and we want to just see how we've improved. Then we can really get a side-by-side, a really great side-by-side comparison of how we've improved over time, or not improved.
In this case, it looks like I had a 90 before, and now I have a 69. I'm not sure what two files we have in there in this testing account, but this is the kind of general idea that Beth was mentioning, that you can compare two revisions side by side. It's kind of neat. If you get excited about numbers and statistics, this is probably your thing. You probably just print this out and hang it by your bed. I don't know. It's really exciting.
I know, right? But if you're like me and you always want to check the box that you're improving and that things are moving in the right direction, then this is one of my favorite features. I really love this. Another quick question, if we have time. So first, let's talk about nonfiction, right? So we actually just added nonfiction capabilities to the platform, and certainly that is an option. We do have a ton of great FAQ on our site. Thank you, Anthony, about using AutoCrit for nonfiction. Kevin, tell them a little bit more about what they can get in the nonfiction genres as a free forever user.
Sure. So nonfiction obviously has a lot of different subsections, but we've also kind of boiled it back up to something more general for the free users here. We give you a narrative nonfiction option and then a prescriptive nonfiction option, kind of more the Yeah, you can look at the authors we have listed here with Robert Greene's and the Dale Carnegies, and obviously with the fiction narrative where you're doing more the true to life stories and things. So we have these three options for you. There are general fiction and then nonfiction narrative and nonfiction prescriptive. We also have many others as well, but those are kind of required you to have a paid account to access. But it's no reason why you can't jump in here and click on one of these and give it a shot and rerun. In comparing to nonfiction. And as Beth mentioned too, many, if not all, the reports up here have very strong, indications for weak and powerful writing, whether you're writing fiction or nonfiction. So adverbs, for example, you don't really want them if you're writing nonfiction either, or repetition or some of the pacing issues you come across. Many of the things that we look for are extremely relevant across all forms of writing. So don't hesitate to think, I have to be writing a fiction book in order to be using AutoCrit. That's not the case at all. You might have to, think about it a little bit, but for the most part, everything you're trying to do as far as an entertainment and readability standpoint, it really is applicable across the board, because whether it's fiction or nonfiction, you still want people to read it and enjoy it. So that's kind of what we're focusing on here and trying to help you polish it and make it an enjoyable experience for your reader.
Absolutely. Yeah, I would not want to read a poorly paced book of any genre, no matter what.
You do your best.
So a couple other things as we wrap up. Thank you so much for joining us. I did see one question come through about those circles.
The circles.
They used to mean something, and they actually don't read. They don't really mean anything. So we're going to think about how we represent those circles.
At one point they did mean something. That's what. But
now they're just pretty and well, I mean, if you're asking us a question, you're engaging with us, and that's what we love. So absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us today. Don't forget, you can always go to AutoCrit.com and set up your own free forever account. And we would love for everybody to join our author community on Facebook. Our group is called AutoCrit Author Community, and you can search for us. I am going to go off script. We have 1 minute left, and nobody can pull the plug on me, so I'm going to go off script for a moment. If you sign up for a free forever account, we will give you an offer to upgrade to Pro for a 14-day trial for just $1. Mm-hmm. So as Kevin was going through all the reports and all the tabs that are available, and you could see, some of the ones may have piqued your interest on that list. So showing versus telling, one of our most popular. If you want to try that out, sign up for your free account. We'll get you that $1 offer, and you can try all those Pro features for 14 days and decide how you want to move forward with us in an editing partnership. And I've said it now, so it's out there. It's out there.
It's only $1.
It is only $1, and it gives you access to all of those professional level features for a limited time. So absolutely head on over to AutoCrit.com and set up your account, and let's get started. Thanks for joining us, and happy editing.
Thanks, everybody.